Do what is necessary, give it to the institutions, and let them work.
More women have found themselves in President Mahama's new government, which will operate with fewer ministries, a slash from 30 to 23.
He's pushing very, very hard to meet the commitments on gender involvement in his government. At the presidency, there are 48% women working here. Out of 27 people, 13 are women, which is unprecedented. It's quite high. At some point, by the end of the first 2 weeks of his government, there were 27% women representation in his government. That is a significant step forward, and he's pushing hard to meet the 30% quota. He has indicated that the remaining appointments will reflect that particular desire because he values the contribution of women. If you go to the vice president's office, it is 60-40 in favor of women. There are 6 women as against 4 men. That is 60%. I don't think that ever happened in our history. Indeed, the biggest testimony of all is the vice president herself, who represents Ghanaian women in extraordinary ways, because it is the first time that a Ghanaian woman has ascended to that height in governance in our country, and it is a significant moment in our history that we should acknowledge.
Right from choosing Professor Nana Jane as his running mate, and Nana is quality, we know. I mean, there's no perfect human being, but she's quality. Because of my interest in women's empowerment, I am very happy to see that he's really working hard to include women in his appointments. You know, the initial ones came and it was good, 28%. Then there was a whole list that had just one woman. It sort of dampened our spirit a bit. But then we saw that a number of CEOs were being appointed as women, his presidential staffers, the vice president's appointments, you know, of her staffers and so on. And it's quite impressive. Okay, but we don't want it to remain just about appointments, though there are many more to go. We know that. We also want it to be about working on issues that enhance equality between women and men, actually the de facto and de jure.
42 ministers, including regional ministers, have so far been nominated.
As the ministers are approved by Parliament and as they are sworn in, I'll proceed to name deputy ministers for some of the ministries, which will bring the total ministers to 60, as I promised the people of Ghana.
I think the first month of Mahama's appointment, I can see his consistency of what he says from campaign till now. That what he's going, the number of ministers he's going to have maintain, and then how he's going to run the country. You can see the setup that is on course.
I believe his appointment is one way to show that he's really serious about the country, because I believe he's giving the youth a chance. Because when you watch the appointment, you can realize, oh, okay, the names, the age range is futuristic. So I believe it's positive.
So far, in terms of their age, perfect. The only thing that I hope that the age will go with competence. You see, it is not always the case that the mere fact that the person is young will be able to perform. We have very young ones who don't know their left from right, just like adults or elderly people who do not know their left from right. So being young is one thing, and being or having the ability to perform is another thing. It's a good thing. Elsewhere, young ones are made to learn at tender age from people who are occupying positions. It does not seem to be the case here. We need to learn, and I believe that those that have been given the opportunity must take a cue to encourage future appointors.
I mean, the appointees are also quite young, which is a good thing, but they're not really young and not informed, because most of them are persons who had worked in the previous administration, and so they have some knowledge that they bring to the table or to their positions. To the extent that they are mostly young, it's also very revealing. I mean, look at the Asante regional minister. He has 34 years. The guy has used a lot of wisdom and he speaks well. I think people like that, if they are practical enough,
remains a huge task. President Mahama needs the buy-in of Ghanaians. That will depend on the guarantees from his our economy policy, and he has the full support of the heads of security agencies who pledged full allegiance before his visit to Boku and Nalerigu on Tuesday, January 14th, 2025.
It is a great joy for me to stand here before you in the heart of the Western region, a land of immense promise, rich history, and extraordinary potential. I'm here with a deep sense of humility and gratitude to say a sincere thank you for the overwhelming support you showed me during the last election. Your trust and belief in our vision for resetting and renewing our country, Ghana, is what has brought us this far, and I do not take it for granted at all. We will have the opportunity as a nation soon to pray and give thanks to the Almighty God, as enjoined by the Holy Book that says that in all things give thanks. We will thank God for His beautiful blessings on our nation, Ghana, and I'll soon announce a planning committee made up of religious leaders to plan the National Day of Prayer and Thanksgiving. I propose that this National Day of Prayer and Thanksgiving should be held on 1st July, which is also our Republic Day and also marks Senior Citizens Day. Nananum, my brothers and sisters, we will soon present to Parliament amendments to the Public Holidays Act in order that we can restore July 1st as a holiday. During the 2024 election, I came here to seek your blessing and your mandate, and you responded overwhelmingly by entrusting me with the leadership of this country. And today, I came here simply to say 2 words: thank you to all the hundreds of thousands of people who voted for me here in the Western region. I'm here to reaffirm my commitment to honoring the trust and confidence you have reposed in me. We'll deliver on our promises, and I'm hopeful that you will see tangible, life-changing developments across the region soon. Long live the Western region, long live our homeland Ghana, and may God make it great and strong. I've made this journey here today with a heart full of gratitude and immense pride. Gratitude to you for your unwavering support and pride in your steadfast commitment. You, the people of the Upper East region, have shown to the National Democratic Congress since the founding of the Fourth Republic that you are an unshakable rock of Gibraltar behind the party. My appreciation has been further deepened by the fact that in the 2024 election, the Upper East region did not only reaffirm its unwavering support for the NDC, but you also honored me with a pride of place as a candidate to receive the greatest endorsement in the recent memory ever given to any presidential candidate in the Fourth Republic. And I recognize that the emphatic mandate you have given me reflects your heightened expectations of me and my government. It is an affirmation of your trust in the principles of fairness and probity and accountability that form the bedrock of NDC's ideological underpinnings. More importantly, it is an expression of your confidence in our vision to reset Ghana and transform the fortunes of our dear Upper East region. I embrace your trust with a deep sense of humility and an unshakable commitment.
Honorable Haruna, the Minister for Roads and Highways, Honorable Kwame Govins-Agboja, and the General Secretary of the National Democratic Congress, Honorable Fifi Fiavi Kwete. We also have other senior presidential staffers and appointees of government. I now have the unusual task of introducing to you a man who requires no introduction, because he is arguably the most recognizable figure in Ghana today.
Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, President of the Republic of Ghana. Shall we give him a round of applause, please? So tonight's program, I beg your pardon, is in two parts. His Excellency will kickstart it by giving an opening remark in which he will outline a few of the things that have been happening since he took over the reins of government. After which we will delve straight into a question and answer session where media, men and women present, will be afforded an opportunity to probe into the workings of government. At this stage, I would humbly invite His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, President of the Republic of Ghana, to give his opening remarks. Shall we give him a round of applause, please?
Thank you very much. And let me say a warm welcome to all you members of the media, very distinguished gentlemen and ladies. Let me just acknowledge my president, the president of the GJA, and all of you who are here. Fellow countrymen and women, I pledge to be transparent and accountable to the people of Ghana and to keep them abreast with the state of affairs at every juncture in my term of office. I'm pleased to have the opportunity through this media encounter to address the good people of Ghana through you and answer any questions that may be on the public's mind. It's been 8 months since I was sworn into office, and 9 months since you, the people of Ghana, went to the polls and gave me a clear, resounding mandate to lead our country into a new era. Beyond affirming your confidence in the policies and programs we propose, it was a national reawakening. That December 7th vote was a call not just for leadership, but for a change of direction, for honesty, for accountability, and for a reset. It was for a different kind of governance, one that listens and one that acts, and one that cares. And so on January 7, 2025, when I took the oath of office, I did so with full awareness of the weight of that moment. I knew we had inherited a nation that was tired of excuses by the political elite, weighed down by hardship and yearning for leadership that does not just promise, but performs. For the past 8 months, we've demonstrated that we're not here to continue business as usual. We're here to reset Ghana, to restore the soul of our nation, to revive its economy, reignite the spirit of hope and possibility in every Ghanaian. Through our prudent and people-centered economic management plan, we've slashed nuisance taxes, we've rescued our power sector and averted the doomsday crisis, which was handed over to us. We've lowered the exchange rate, eased the burden of doing business, and reduce the cost of living for the average Ghanaian. Inflation has dropped to a record 4-year low, signaling renewed macroeconomic stability. We've made the highest allocation to basic education in nearly half a decade. In health, much needed funds have been released to fund the health insurance scheme. Medical supplies are flowing steadily. Community health delivery is being prioritized, and the Ghana Medical Trust Fund was launched to help Ghanaians bear the cost of treating chronic diseases. Only yesterday, I approved the governing board of the Ghana Medical Trust Fund, which the Honorable Minister of Health will soon inaugurate. A renewed focus on agriculture, particularly through youth-targeted interventions, irrigation, expansion, and the revitalization of the Land and Farm Bank project, is positioning Ghana to be food secure and export competitive. We've also laid the groundwork for a digital Ghana through strategic investments in science and technology and innovation through the 1 Million Coders program. These strides are not isolated. They are part of a clear, deliberate national reset that is restoring hope, creating opportunity, and ushering in an era of shared prosperity for all. My comrades, the education sector remains central to our reset agenda, as we firmly believe that the future of our country hinges on an empowered, knowledgeable, and skilled population. And so 3 months ago, I launched the no-fee stress policy, refunding fees to 120,000 first-year students in public tertiary institutions in Ghana. It signaled a decisive break from the painful era when dreams of brilliant but vulnerable young Ghanaians were cut short simply because they could not afford to pay fees, especially at that critical period of admission where they either pay or lose the chance at further education. We're not stopping there. The no-fee stress policy is intrinsically linked to our broader student loan plus policy, which will ensure that no student is left behind in subsequent years of study. Under this policy, students from low-income households will have access to flexible and dignified financing options to complete their tertiary education without the burden of unbearable debt or financial uncertainty. The implementation of the free tertiary education policy for persons with disability has commenced, removing a key barrier to higher learning and affirming our belief that education must be a right and not a privilege for every Ghanaian regardless of their physical ability. To give life to our commitment to foster a knowledge-based economy, we've established the Ghana National Research Fund with an initial allocation of 50 million cedis. This is a step towards deepening research and innovation across all sectors: science, technology, humanities, and the arts. For far too long, much of the research conducted by our brilliant academics has been funded by foreign institutions, with the unfortunate outcome that the intellectual property and findings are often owned abroad. With this fund, we will slowly but certainly reverse that narrative by empowering our own researchers and ensuring that Ghana owns the knowledge and innovations produced by its intellectuals. As part of our commitment to research excellence, we offer full scholarships annually to 5 PhD candidates at every university in Ghana. By investing in our thinkers, we're investing in our future and asserting our intellectual sovereignty. In furtherance of our commitments to inclusion and dignity, we have distributed over 6 million sanitary pads to our girl children in primary and secondary schools to keep them in school and help them end period poverty. Contrary to the widespread misinformation that was circulated before December 7, 2024, the free SHS policy has not only been maintained, indeed it has been strengthened. We've made the highest budgetary allocation in the history of the policy, as at now. A staggering 3.5 billion Ghana cedis has been dedicated to the free SHS. We understand that access without quality is inadequate, and that's why we're implementing the decentralization of feeding policy to allow the management of schools to make their own feeding arrangements to provide students with quality meals. Our commitment to foundational learning is equally strong. Basic education has received its highest budget allocation in almost a decade, reflecting our determination to rebuild the educational ladder from the ground up, with 564.6 million allocated so far for textbooks. We are addressing long-standing challenges in the system, particularly those caused by the reduced funding of the recent past. Fellow countrymen and women, we've also turned our attention with equal urgency to the health and well-being of our people. In 2025 alone, the national health budget increased by 13.4%, rising from 15.6 billion Ghana cedis to 17.8 billion cedis, one of the most significant increases in recent years. This bold step reflects our recognition of the urgent need to strengthen Ghana's healthcare system in the face of both domestic demands and global health risks. We've uncapped the NHIL and made 66% increase in funding to the National Health Insurance Scheme from 5.9 billion Ghana cedis to 9.8 billion Ghana cedis in 2025. This is not just a budget line, it's a life-saving commitment. These funds will help expand coverage, improve claims processing, and ensure that every Ghanaian, especially the poor and vulnerable, has access to affordable quality health care. The sudden withdrawal of 156 million in US aid help support, which previously sustained critical programs in malaria, HIV and AIDS, and child health, presented a serious fiscal and public health challenge. In response, we have readjusted our domestic expenditure priorities and ensured that the domestic safety nets are provided to cover the gap that occurred. To further bridge access gaps and enhance service delivery, government is investing over 2 billion Ghana cedis in healthcare infrastructure between now and 2028. This includes an initial 200 million cedis allocation in the 2025 budget to accelerate construction, expansion and modernization of hospitals, clinics and health centers nationwide. Whether in remote rural communities or high-density urban centers, our aim is the same, a health facility within reach of every Ghanaian. Cabinet is awaiting a report from the Honorable Minister of Health on the status and stage of completion of the Agenda 111 hospitals to determine a way forward for their completion. Our approach to economic management goes beyond improving the macroeconomic indicators. It's about making the Ghanaian household feel the impact in their everyday lives. As the popular saying goes, the real economy is not in statistics, but in the pockets of the people. And that is why I take pride not only in the clear signs of recovery and stability, but in the direct relief Ghanaians are experiencing from our economic policies. Today we are seeing a stabilization in the price of goods and services, with inflation dropping significantly from 23.8% in December 2024 to 11.5% in July 2025, the lowest inflation rate recorded since December 2021. But this isn't just about numbers, it's about being felt across markets and homes. The prices of key commodities are falling, and for the first time in years, brands and businesses are actively advertising their price reductions, a sign that recovery is not only real but tangible. Official trade associations have presented data to Parliament that shows that up to 4,500 different items on the market have seen varied price reductions. We've stayed current with our bond repayment obligations. In a significant endorsement of Ghana's economic recovery efforts, global credit rating agencies, S&P Global Ratings, have upgraded Ghana's country credit risk from junk to B- with a stable outlook, reflecting renewed investor confidence and the positive momentum in economic management. To maintain this positive momentum of our economic recovery, we're increasing Ghana's productivity through bold job-creating initiatives. And one of the most transformative among them is our 24-hour economy initiative, a policy that is designed to boost micro and small and medium enterprise, modernize agriculture, and expand employment opportunities across key sectors. This initiative is not just about keeping the lights on longer, it is about unlocking new shifts of productivity, widening access to jobs, and building a resilient, inclusive economy that works for all. Only yesterday, Cabinet approved for onward submission to Parliament the 24-hour authority bill. Already we're seeing key institutions take the lead in actualizing the 24-hour economy vision. The Ghana Publishing Company has transitioned to a full 24-hour operation. The Passport Office and Ghana's foreign missions have also rolled out round-the-clock services to expedite passport processing and improve service delivery. At our ports, both Tema and Takrady are now operating 24 hours to boost trade efficiency and reduce congestion. To guarantee safety within this evolving ecosystem, a dedicated 24-hour economy policing secretariat has been established in the Ministry of Interior to provide continuous security support across the country. These bold steps signal a clear national commitment to building a resilient, inclusive, and job-rich economy. To ensure legal and operational readiness, Cabinet has approved critical amendments to the GIPC Act and the Labour Act, which now include provisions that enable and regulate 24-hour economic activity. These legal reforms will ensure that businesses, investors, and workers alike are supported by a framework that protects rights while encouraging innovation and growth. Complementing this agenda, we have rolled out the Jumara program and the National Apprenticeship Program, both of which are expanding pathways to employment, particularly for our young people and artisans. These programs are equipping thousands with the skills, tools, and opportunities they need to succeed in today's job market. Thousands of young Ghanaians are currently undergoing training under the 1 Million Coders program, our bold strategic initiative to build Ghana's digital talent base and prepare our youth for the jobs of the future. This program is equipping participants not just to access digital jobs, but to create sustainable employment opportunities through innovation, entrepreneurship, and global ICT competitiveness. Additionally, in the extractive sector, the Gold Board is formalizing Ghana's gold trade. As of today, gold trading is a reserve for only Ghanaians. This strategic move will help maximize national benefits, enhance transparency, and ensure that the wealth generated from our natural resources is reinvested in our communities and national development. We're also taking decisive action to protect our environment and natural resources from destruction. A dedicated national task force is currently in place, actively combating the menace of illegal mining. As a result of their operations, hundreds of excavators, water pumps, who have looted this country some temporary relief, but let me be clear, it will not grant them permanent escape. Across multiple fronts, active pursuits and prosecutions are well underway under the Operation Recover All the Loot. Over 200 cases are under active investigation, with about 80 people interrogated so far. Several prosecutions have begun, progressing steadily and remaining firmly on course. In the Republic versus Edubuan and 3 others, the state has submitted witness statements together with all other documents, and trial has commenced. And the first of 3 prosecution witnesses have been called and have been cross-examined by counsel for the accused person. With the SkyTrain case, for instance, the prosecutors have secured a trial date, as all preliminary matters have been concluded and the trial is set to commence. For the National Service Authority case, due to its expansive nature, charges have been drafted and will be filed as soon as the legal year begins against the following person: the Republic versus Osei Sibe, the Republic versus Eric Nyaku, the Republic versus Gifty Owari. Also for the National Cathedral, we are awaiting a forensic audit from the Auditor General. Additionally, charges have been drafted and are ready for filing in the case of Republic versus Wuntumi and Akuntamaini. The Economic and Organized Crime Office, IOCO, is finalizing its report with respect to Exim Bank transactions. Dockets are in preparation for the buffer stock case and the drip equipment case. Investigations are ongoing into the African Cup of Nations case, the Mart Set case, and approximately 20 other cases currently. Let me be clear, every single case of corruption that needs to be investigated is being looked into. And once evidence is found to ground a prosecution, that will happen and happen swiftly. Looking within, we launched a code of conduct for public officials with an insistence on strict compliance. A high-level working group has been inaugurated to draft a new anti-corruption strategy aimed at strengthening ethical governance and institutional coordination. My fellow citizens, the scourge of Galamsey is receiving much attention. We've established the National Anti-Illegal Mining Operations Secretariat, NIMOS, as the Central Operations Command Center coordinating the national fight against illegal mining and its associated environmental degradation. In a coordinated effort across all security agencies and the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources, 440 excavators have been seized. Over 1,400 arrests have been made, with suspects awaiting prosecution. Over 300 Shamfang machines have been confiscated and destroyed. Over 900 water pumps seized from illegal mining sites have been handed over to the Ministry of Agriculture for distributing to farmers for irrigation purposes. Of Ghana's 288 forest reserves, 44 had previously suffered varying degrees of destruction from illegal mining. Notably, 9 of those reserves had become no-go zones due to the presence of armed groups. Through the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources and with support from the security agencies, we've successfully repossessed all 9 of these red-zoned forest reserves. However, over the weekend, the Jimira Forest Reserve and the Anwia Futu section of the Ofinch Shelter Belt was re-invaded by illegal miners after these were handed back to the Forestry Commission. The military is currently working with NIMOS to repossess those reserves and establish a permanent presence in those liberated forest reserves to prevent re-incursion by illegal miners. 980 personnel have been recruited, trained and deployed in the western and savannah regions. They conduct daily operations on major river bodies, serving as community vanguards to ward off illegal mining activities. An additional 1,020 personnel will be recruited and deployed by the end of the year, bringing the total force to 2,000 blue water guards. The next phase will focus on dechemicalizing and restoring our water bodies to their pristine state. Feasibility studies for this critical restoration efforts are currently underway. In collaboration with the Ministry of Transport, the Ministry of Finance, GRA Customs Division and the Ports and Harbours Authority, we've instituted a system for the proactive tracking of all imported excavators and earth-moving equipment from the port of entry. 1,200 excavators are going through the permitting process from the Transport Ministry, clearance from Customs registration with DVLA, and tracking at the Minerals Commission. So far, we've registered 1,015 earth-moving and mining equipment. 647 have been registered and fitted with tracking devices. There are an additional 600 equipment at the port awaiting clearance. An additional 350 tracking devices are expected by September 12, 2025 to enhance this monitoring effort. The Constitutional Review Commission is actively engaging stakeholders across the country, gathering views on how best to shape the future framework of Ghana's democracy. This inclusive approach ensures that voices of citizens, civil society, and institutions are reflected in the evolving constitutional order. Friends, internal security is important for economic progress. Pursuant to our commitment to improving security, we have earmarked 1 billion Ghana cedis to retool our security agencies. The Ministry of Energy has recently granted a declaration of commerciality for the Eban Akoma oil and gas discoveries in Cape 3 Points, Block 4, confirming their commercial viability. This paves the way for the joint venture partners ENI Vitol, Woodfields, and the Ghana National Petroleum Corporation to proceed with a full plan of development of this oil well. This milestone brings us closer to increased oil and gas production job creation, and enhanced energy security, reinforcing our commitment to responsible resource management for the benefit of all Ghanaians. We've also approved the construction of a second gas processing plant, GPP2, to double our national processing capacity and set the stage for cheaper, cleaner, and more reliable power generation. This landmark project alone is expected to save the country close to $500 million every 2 years by drastically cutting our reliance on expensive imported liquid fuel. Beyond the cost reduction, it is projected to create over 1,000 direct and indirect jobs, fueling both industry and livelihoods. We can all attest to the fact that the looming threat of Dumsor we inherited in January this year has been averted. Through strategic interventions and swift action, power supply has remained stable across the country, ensuring uninterrupted electricity for households, businesses, and essential services. We've made significant strides in restoring fiscal decentralization. In the past 8 years, only 40% to 50% of the District Assembly's Common Fund was reaching metropolitan, municipal, and district assemblies, constraining their capacity to deliver local services. Our government has reversed this trend. District assemblies are now receiving 80% of their allocation directly. Of the 7.57 billion allocated for DACF this year, approximately 6.1 billion has gone straight to local assemblies, with a minimum of 25 million allocated to each MMDA. Already the first quarter disbursement of 987.97 million has been released to kickstart district level development. To ensure focused impact, Cabinet has approved expenditure guidelines for the districts. 25% of the fund is to support design and construction of what we call 24-hour economy model markets. 10% is allocated for health, with a minimum of 2 CHIPS compounds per district. Education, 1 kg, 1 primary, 1 GS block, potable water, at least 10 boreholes, environmental sanitation and school furniture. 7.5% for MMDA administration, monitoring and evaluation, and 20% is allocated to finished legacy projects. Simultaneously, all statutory funds such as 2.03 billion to the National Health Insurance Fund and 2.71 billion to GET Fund, covering NHIS, arrears, and free SHS, have been released in full, underscoring our commitment to public service delivery and local empowerment. Next week, I'll cut the sword in 3 locations to signal the start of the Big Push program. The first phase, understandably, covers mainly the road sector. Everyone will admit that over the last 8 years, our road infrastructure has deteriorated remarkably. This year alone, almost 14 billion Ghana cedis of our oil and gold revenues have been earmarked for the Big Push program. Critical road projects such as the Ofanko and Sawam roads, which were chronically underfunded, have been transferred under the Big Push program and recently received a release of almost 1 billion cedis to ensure speedy completion by the end of second quarter of next year. My media colleagues, our reset agenda remains on course, and I've remained unwavering in my commitment not only to the promise I made to you in the run-up to the 2024 elections, but to the principles of honesty, transparency, and probity and accountability that define good governance. I'm resolute in laying foundations for economic recovery, resetting our institutions to reflect the demands of modern governance and enhanced service delivery for every Ghanaian. I'm driven by a deep determination to see the dreams of our forebears for an economically independent and self-reliant Ghana realized in our lifetime. I'm equally determined to restore Ghana's rightful place as a respected voice and actor on the global stage. With your continued trust and support, I'm confident that we will not only meet these goals, but also build a nation that serves the hopes of this generation and the aspirations of generations yet unborn. May God bless us all, and may God bless our homeland, Ghana. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. At this stage, we will delve straight into the question and answer session, which will be guided by the following rubric. There will be one question per questioner, and this is to ensure that we maximize the time. This program is supposed to last for 1.5 hours, and we are due to leave here at 9:30. I would also entreat you to avoid lengthy preambles to questions so that we can afford as many of you the opportunity to ask questions. There will be 5 batches of questioning with 4 questions in each batch. 2 microphones will be placed on either side of the middle row to enable these questions to be asked. So at this stage, I'll call on the ushers and stewards to position the microphones so that the questions could be asked. Okay, so the gentlemen on either side of the middle row are with the microphone. So if you want to ask a question, please put up your hand. You catch my attention, I will. All right, so we have the president of the Ghana Journalists Association who is supposed to embody your collective aspirations. So I would accord him the courtesy of asking the first question. So Mr. Jumfo, you may ask the first question. After which I see Kojo Prekodankwa, and then the Moses of Bloomberg, and then one lady in the middle to bring the number to 4. Mr. Jumfo, you may ask your question, please.
Thank you, Honorable Mr. President. Thank you so much for this opportunity, and having been given the opportunity to set the tone for the media encounter. Permit me to commend you for availing yourself for this media encounter and for your commitment to transparency and accountability. Your willingness to face scrutiny just 8 months into your term set a commendable example of good governance. We also wish to commend you for your assurance and firm commitment to safeguarding the safety and protection of journalists across the country. Now my question, Mr. President, as you may be aware, remuneration and general working conditions in the media are not the best, especially in the state-owned media, which falls under the authority of government. This situation is a key factor in our low ranking on the World Press Freedom Index under the economic indicator. What measures is your government putting in place to improve working conditions in the state-owned media and also to provide relief for those in the private media? Also, assault on journalists are on the rise, and I know this is of great concern to you as a journalist yourself and a proud member of the Inky fraternity. The Ghana Journalists Association would therefore like to know what your government is doing to address this disturbing trend. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. Kojo, you may have the microphone now.
Good evening. My name is Kojo Prekodankwa, Kesben Media. In your remarks, you did touch on the issue of mining, and I want to commend your government with the achievements you chalked. But recently, we heard that Ghana Water Company is proposing almost about 280% increment in tariffs. One of the major reasons they raised has to do with Galamsey and how it is affecting them to get us good or potable water. In this way, I would want to ask, Mr. President, would you then consider the argument that we should have the state of emergency when it comes to illegal mining? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kojo. I believe I called the Moses of Bloomberg. Yes.
Your Excellency, thank you very much. My name is Akol Moses, a correspondent of Bloomberg. Your Excellency, Ghana's economic indicators have turned into a positive trajectory, and buoyed by the ratings you also referenced and investor confidence. Do you think that that gives enough scope for you to go back to the international capital market, maybe for your first Eurobond after the default? Thank you.
Okay, so we'll take the final question in this batch from the lady whose hand is up.
But I say, Idiama Jesso and Apina Pukua, when near me war, Adom Brands, Adom TV, and Adom FM. Masembisa Efa and Kania Boy and the Yenim say ECG, a proposed 225%. Yenim said me more and two by a base 2.45. In July, it was sold by 14.75. Then now see him say a bind one is so the 24 economy or the Bayejima na Ghana for the Duenya Mufaso. It is say ECG the 225% increment eba. Yenim hawa proposal no any hunkumudi bekone percentage of the bejina. Ebeko Ghana for Bibena company say ano yedin. Ye bisa se betumenya nsusan so e wo 24 economy no so Ghana for butum na ebiom so aban be hye obeso asene eye subsidy ama omanfo ho atoma na medase.
So His Excellency the President will field these questions at this stage. Thank you.
Thank you very much, President of GGME. Your question is a double question, one on remuneration and the other on assault of journalists. With regards to remuneration, I would say that it's not only journalists in the state-owned media who are dissatisfied with their salaries. Public service salaries are not living wages. I agree with the TUC that we must work towards a living wage. All of us are dissatisfied with the salary we get as public servants. The private sector offers better remuneration, but that's why we have to work together to grow the national cake so that we can pay ourselves better. And that is why there's agitation for cancellation of Article 71 in the Constitution, because we all must feel the pinch so that we can grow things together. But when you cushion a certain constitutional class and they have more cushy remuneration than the other people, then it creates a kind of discrimination between public service. And so our advocacy has been for an independent emoluments commission that would deal with the salaries and wages of all persons in the public sector so that we grow those wages together. In our first incarnation under Professor Mills, we established a single spine salary structure. And that salary structure was supposed to uniform out wages in the public sector so that the disparity will not be too wide. So if you are a secretary in GBC compared to a secretary in, say, Bank of Ghana, there will not be that very wide disparity. Unfortunately, the single spine atonsium, because of the inability to maintain the discipline in public sector wages. Over the last 8 years, the group that is able to strike the most gets more addition to their wages than those that don't go on strike. And so the disparities have occurred again. And so we're in consultation with organized labor to see what we can do about reforming public sector wages. And I'm sure that if those wages are made better, journalists working in the public sector would also have an improvement in their remuneration. With the private sector, government does not have control there. And what happens is we have such a proliferation of private media that advertising revenue is not enough, to be able to maintain the kinds of salaries that we all expect. Maybe if we had fewer, then the advertising revenue would go around and people can have more. But our constitution guarantees freedom to establish a media of mass communication. And so you cannot restrain how many radio stations you have or how many newspapers you have. And so it's something that we have to live with for a while. Natural competition will phase out the stations that are not competitive, and those that are able to survive will see that they're able to make more money from advertising. The main revenue for media all over the world is advertising. And so we'll see how that goes. I've condemned assaults on journalists in any form. Journalists are doing their job, and their job is to bring news to the doorsteps of our people and to inform them, educate and entertain them. And so at every event you will have journalists there. Unfortunately, some security personnel have developed a penchant for just harassing journalists. And so it's a matter of educating people. It's a matter of sanctioning people who assault journalists. And I've been speaking with my president of GJA, saying that we're going to bring them together with the security agencies so that they must carry out an awareness amongst their people who provide security at events, that if you see a journalist at an event, he is also doing a job like you, the security person, are doing your job. And so you don't have the right to assault them or to manhandle them. And so we'll keep working at it. I mean, definitely, as a member of the GJA, a lifetime member of the GJA, there's no way I'll condone assault of journalists in any form. The various, we do occasional review of tariffs. And when these tariffs are about to be reviewed, proposals are requested from the utility organizations. And so I noted that recently Ghana Water presented their proposal, and Electricity Company of Ghana also presented their proposal. It doesn't mean that the proposal they present is what is going to be implemented. We have the regulator, which is the PURC, that looks at all the factors, including the exchange rates, including the cost of production and all that, before they determine what increase in tariff is allowed. And so the fact that you hear that water company says they're going to increase by 200 and something percent does not necessarily mean that PURC is going to allow them to do that. Now, I mean about Obusa ECG there also. Mwayama may the same for both utilities. ECG so I propose 200 and something percent, but I know interest PURC budget to say omuntimi into electricity tariffs musa. Ombeshe and nyoma a core electricity production mo to say fuel nesan nyoma and sana omashe senya omo de tariff ni besi. Na MRP no at the frontier your tariffs across run is a nipa bebre entria. Until we share ECG say your case commercial and technical losses are almost 42%. I just say of electricity almost ton almost to me a J a home akechia of only about 58%. Na eno anka wiase afana bia ankasa ejume ya se wo ye ejume bia na bibia woton bia unya just return of 58% anka by now ejume na gu nso akoya aban de se e kire so na aban abeboa e kire so na aban abeboa enti afi de ya sesa omo hwe ejuma no so na ya kenya omo se omo sorry na omo nante na nia onkrofo mu wia iram kania no ni adini na yenchechi omo na yentwe omo aso efise se yen na atwa ebema eton no ebo na fom enti ejuma ye begu so aye Bloomberg, yes, we're quite happy with the outcomes of the reforms that we have been implementing in the economy. And we have survived without going to the capital markets. We've survived without borrowing. Who could have thought some years ago that Ghana's economy could be run without going to the external market to borrow? And yet, we've survived. And so we shouldn't be in a hurry to go back to the capital market. All we've done is to reorder our expenditure and push funds to areas that are of priority. And so that's all we've done. Fiscal discipline, not spending money on wasteful, political interventions and all that. And that is already showing the successes in the market. I mean, we've gone from negative 3.4% on the primary balance to positive 1.1 as at now. And by the end of the year, we'll achieve the target. I'm sure we'll overachieve the target of positive 1.5. And so it's all about discipline in expenditure. And so for me as the president, I would not favor a quick return to the international capital market. I think we should go like this for a while and consolidate the economy before we look at external financing. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Now, having taken a set of questions from this side. I would go to this side and take 4 more questions. Kamini, you may have the first shot.
Mr. President, it's Kamini Amano. I'm the host of TV3's Hot Issues. We look forward to your return to the iconic show. I want to talk about the local currency, the cedi. In the second quarter of the year, we saw a very bullish rise in the value of the cedi. We are not seeing the same in the third quarter. So far, we are told that it's lost about some 13%. When it was on this rise, the IMF had warned that the country was over-interfering, which is why we were seeing the performance. My question tonight is, Mr. President, did you manipulate the performance of the cedi? Is that why we are seeing the cedi fall as quickly as it is today? How do you explain this decline in value in such a short period of time? And what's the plan to revive it?
Thank you very much. Nana Mejakwa has the floor.
Patramidin Nana Mejakwa, TV. My question is oral. I'm saying, Mr. President, what can PFA oral? Now, the last accountability series, Attorney General, a statement in Pesemi Redi Kakami quoting Kakranami to us. I wish to remind you of the fact that when I announced the Kwabena Edubwahi investigation, I was blunt in stating the fact that I am open to engaging in plea bargaining with those who have been investigated and found to have looted or stolen state resources. I mean no words about my intentions and will therefore not shut the door to any accused person willing to enter into negotiations with my office for purposes of reaching a plea agreement. Yenim se ya criminal and other offences procedure amendment act 2022 plea bargaining. But my question is say fight corruption. As Attorney General, State Attorney say we be na pono de ato ho no mo a say we loot state resource and as a fund bra then we negotiate. Does it mean say we beti asese sika na me fire no metua ye gyan no ana ndi wo ho no mo ana? Me question no it does.
Justice from Shinhua News Agency.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. My name is Justice from China State Media Shinhua News Agency. Looking at the global trade crisis that was ignited by the United States President, people have been wondering what countries like Ghana would be doing as a response. But we realized recently that the Chinese government has actually granted all African countries a zero tariff into their market. What will Ghana be doing to take advantage of that for our trading to be boosted as a substitute to what we may have been losing from the United States side? Thank you.
Before I take the final question from here, let me indicate that we are joined by journalists from across the regions through the power of technology. So as and when the technical folks sit down me, I would ask them to also contribute to this question and answer session. Alfred, you may have the last word in this batch.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. President. My name is Alfred Okanse. I work with TV3 as part of Media General. Just on the back of the oral question that was asked by a colleague of mine, over the weekend we had the General Secretary of your party indicate that there are some NDC lawyers who are cutting deals with some persons who are standing trial for acts of corruption. Is this statement one that you're minded by? And if you are, what are you going to do about this, especially because of how committed you are, as you indicated, to pursue oral because the Ghanaian people expect that you should do so? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alfred. Now, we are joined by William Menta from Rich FM. So, William, if you can hear me, you have the floor.
Okay, so my name is William Menta from Asimfosu-based Rich FM Central Region. And Mr. President, Central Region is known as the heartbeat of education and tourism. Yet our people still struggle with unemployment and underdeveloped infrastructure. what specific steps is your government and our strength into real jobs and opportunities for the youth? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Your Excellency, you may answer this question, sir.
Thank you very much. The first question is about the rise in the value of the city. We recognize a very steep appreciation in the value of the city in response to the reforms that we were carrying out. And for those of you who listened to me, there was one occasion where I said, people were asking whether it will go below 10. And I said, it is dropping, but it will find its true value. It was undervalued at 16, and it probably is overvalued at 10. But somewhere between there, we have the real value of the city. And so I believe that it is about stopping rapid depreciation of the currency. Almost every currency would realize either depreciation or appreciation in the course of a year. But when you have steep depreciation of about, like we had in 2024, 25% depreciation in the currency in the first half of the year, it makes planning difficult. And so, yes, Bank of Ghana has been intervening in the forex market, but they've withdrawn. And what happened was that because of the rapid appreciation in the value of the cedi, we saw an exponential increase in imports, because then people could buy cheaper dollars and so they could import more, which is a natural economic phenomenon. But on the other side, exporters are not happy because they get less cedis for what they export. And so every country tries to find out a balance where exporters are able to do good business and importers are not overburdened by high forex rates. Where that lies, I don't know. I'm not a central bank. But the cedi is making an adjustment, and I believe that it will settle at a certain rate, and we will make sure that any depreciation that occurs in the value of the cedi is within a margin of about 5% per annum. That is what we target. And so for now, there's still speculation. It's also coincided with a period where we saw a reduction of 50% in remittances, because citizens in the diaspora were taken aback by the rapid appreciation of the cedi. And so if somebody was building a house, if he was going to send $100,000, it meant that he was losing a certain percentage of that 100,000. And most of them would decide to adopt a wait-and-see attitude and say, oh, no, as for cedi, it's not possible that the cedi can regain its value to that extent. By all means, it will go up again. So I'll hold back my remittance until the cedi goes back up. So we saw a 50% reduction. But there were also some other factors. There were some money transfer companies that were collecting cedis abroad and not repatriating collecting dollars abroad and not repatriating the dollars. There were other which we're investigating. There were other cases where people applied through the commercial banks for foreign exchange to cover imports, and those monies are transferred to pay for imports, but the imports never came into Ghana. And we've studied a period of 4 years, and over the period of 4 years, about $42 billion was taken out of this country without the corresponding imports coming into the country. And so we started sanctioning some banks, and soon we'll start interrogating some individuals who ostensibly took money out against imports but never brought those imports. We want to know what happened and if there was wrongdoing to sanction whoever it is. While we work to stabilize our economy and improve the value of our currency, we must protect that currency, because a strong cedi is good for all of us. But when that happens, some people try to take advantage of it. And I think that we should all condemn anything like that. FR investigations now with regards to oral. Send your kind MPP address almost the and she shall be by IMRA say abani woody FR case be home say ebia wafesika na bibia or akwenya ubetimi aka say you any aban case na mode kwedu amode bomeno me sande sika na say agudie bia na say bibia mode bomi kwedu no me sande aba se ne be ya bomfa me nkoto how do they call imprisonment if you say bomfa me nkoto if you say enti ayemra edaho enti obi a yabɔ no kwedu bia ɛwɔ tumi sɛ ɔbɛka sɛ you ɛne yɛntwa so na memfa sɛ imra na yɛngyae saa ɛyi no enti ɛno ɛnyɛ aban ɛna ɛbɛka ɛyɛ nipa yɛde no akɔgyina court nso sɛ ɔka sɛ o mungyae asɛm no mu na memfa sɛ imra na sɛ agodie bi a mefa yɛ memfa mra na sɛ japadie bi a mefa yɛ memfa mra na sɛ bibi aban wɔ akwanya sɛ yɛbɛka sɛ de bi yɛngye na yɛbɛtoa so ɛne case no enti egyina case no ɛne nea nipa no yɛɛ enti still aban wɔ tumi sɛ even though wakɔ mmara no ase aka sɛ mepɛ sɛ mesan ɛde bibi bɛma aban na aban egya case no mu aban bɛtumi aka sɛ de bi yɛmpɛ yɛngye enti ɛno ɛyɛ case by case sɛ wohyɛ da ɛde adwembɔne ewie a yɛsika a ɛkyerɛ sɛ ɛso a yɛn nyinaa ɛkyerɛ sɛ I don't know how to explain I just say abo aban anase oman ne car ye wotumi se ebeka se yempe nia wode ba no na ye de obekwa akoto efiase ba ni be reason ka se na wode ne koto efiase wa na obeto aduane ama no wa na obehwe no oyare a wode ne beko hospital enti se wewia sika na okase o sande usika be mawa ene ho wonfa so se ye beji sika chen se ye di nipa no beko efiase enti ye no de Attorney General ene behwe no akan nia ehia. With regards to trade tariffs and China zero tariffs, it's an incentive for us to export into the Chinese market. And we need to look at the items that China imports and see where we have a comparative advantage to be able to take up those imports. I know that China imports a lot from the US, and there's a trade tariff war between US and China. So China is looking for alternative markets to import those items. And so they import a lot of meats from the US, they import a lot of maize from the US, and other agricultural products. And so if we have arable land and we're in a position to expand our production, then the zero tariff will make meaningful sense. Then we can take advantage of it. But it is just a figure if we are not able to respond and be able to export into the Chinese market. But I think that it offers an opportunity for diversification of markets. Nobody wins tariff wars. It's unfortunate that America has appended the whole world trade system. We all work towards a rules-based trading system. It took years of negotiation from Rio to Doha round and all that. And eventually, reasonable tariffs were agreed between countries. Countries like Africa enjoyed zero tariff into the US because we were in the developing world. And so it was a concession that US gave. And what you receive in exchange is soft power, that, you know, a lot of people have a good disposition towards the US because the US has been kind to Africa and all that kind of thing. But in comes President Trump. He has a more transactional mindset, and he says that the US has been taken for granted for a long time. And so even countries like Ghana in Africa, he slapped a 15% tariff on us from zero tariff. And so AGWA is technically dead. It was due for renegotiation in September. There's no way with this 15% tariff AGWA is going to be renewed. But we're just watching carefully. The power to impose tariffs is that of Congress. But in this case, the US president always pushes the limits. And so there's a case in the US Supreme Court to determine whether his imposition of tariffs are legal or not. And so depending on what the US court says, the tariffs would either be permanent or they might have to go back to Congress to endorse the tariffs that he has imposed. And then from the Central Region, Rich FM, he asked what we're doing to enhance the tourist attraction of the Central Region. It's all about infrastructure. It's also about service. With infrastructure, even the travel time to Central Region is a major problem. In Ghana, we've maintained single lane, highways for a very long time. They are prone to accidents. A lot of accidents occur. Now every day you hear there's an accident on the Kumasi Road, there's an accident on the Cape Coast Road. And that is because when two vehicles oncoming and going are using a single lane, the tendency for head-on collisions are very real because of wrongful overtaking and all that. So one of our first things that would enhance tourism in the Central Region is that we're dualizing the road all the way to Takoradi. It will reduce travel time to Cape Coast. It will allow somebody to wake up in the morning, travel to Cape Coast, enjoy his tourist experience, and be back in the evening to Accra to sleep. And so reducing the travel time will help enhance that. But apart from that, we must identify what the tourist sites are, improve their attractiveness, and also improve the service delivery. One of the things that affects tourism in Ghana and West Africa is that our service is poor. You go to a restaurant and they think that they are doing you a favor. You go to eat and they think that you owe them, to serve you. If you go to other parts of the world, it's completely different. You are compelled to spend your money because they are all over you. Even before you finish the drink that they have given you, you are halfway. Can I bring you another drink? And if you are the shy type and things, you always say, oh, yes, yes. And you forget that you have to pay for it. And so we must improve our service delivery. Owners of services must take professionals who know how to be courteous to customers, to know that we are in this job because you've come here to eat or you've come here to do this. And so that's one of the drawbacks of our whole tourism experience. And most times you spend so much money, set up an establishment, instead of going for professionals, you go and haul your relatives from the village to come and serve people. They pay and they can't even get their change. You can't find the waiter who took your money. And when you even find them, he says, oh, we have no change. I mean, they have a certain sense of entitlement. And so until we reform all these, and it's an attitudinal problem, until we reform all these, and people who own these establishments make sure that service delivery is at near 100%, we would not be able to attract enough tourists into our country. We have a beautiful country. People come and, they just say, look, this country is good. But if you hear a lot of the feedback and you say, oh, but what is negative about it? Oh, your service is not the best. Always, that's the feedback that comes. But the government will do its part. Government has the responsibility for making sure the infrastructure is good. And we're starting with the road, making sure that we dualize the road all the way to Cape Coast and Central Region so that people can travel easier to go and enjoy the tourist attractions there.
The middle row. So Bernard Avle of Channel 1, Sadiq Adams, Mahama Haruna from the Savannah region, and there's a lady at the back there, and Joshua from GH1.
Thank you, Felix. Thank you, Felix. Before my question, I'd like to indicate that there was a question on Galamsey, which I believe has
Yes,
not
I
been
just
answered.
prompted His Excellency, and he will deal with it. Yeah.
Thank you very much. So, Mr. President, thank you for this opportunity. We are told democracy thrives on checks and balances and separation of powers. Your party has a 2/3 majority in Parliament. The Chief Justice you came to meet has been removed, of course, under your hand, although the process was gone through. There is talk of the EC chair and the leadership, quote, not being fit for purpose by members of your party. Some people fear that these developments and others create a situation where the other arms of government are completely subservient to the executive. In fact, one newspaper expressed the fear that you could be morphing into, quote, a supreme leader, unquote. There is a maxim that power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. Should we be worried in your legacy term that the democracy you came to meet will be well oiled and that the three arms of government will work not in subservience but in unison? Thank you.
All right, before I come back to you, we'll cross over to Tamale and take a question from Abdul Mujiz from Tamale. Sagani TV from Tamale. Abdul Mujiz, you have the floor if you can hear me.
Thank you very much. Mr. President, good evening. My name is Ba Abdul Mujiz from Tamale. My question has to do with the Tamale and Yendi water project. I would like to know when.
Well, we seem to have lost Abdul, but I think I can continue for him. He would like to know when the Tamale and Yendi water projects will be executed. Yeah, Sadiq, you have the floor now.
Good evening, Mr. President, and thank you very much for this opportunity. My name is Sadiq Adams from Angel TV and Angel Radio. Mr. President, the question is on national unity and peace. There has been a recent spate in social media accounts created by unidentified people purported to be representing ethnic and tribal groups. We have seen some vile attacks, pockets of that on social media, TikTok, and some of them in real life. There has been a number of them, and we observe over 50 that has been set up particularly to attack and inflame ethnic passion and tribal issues. If your security agencies have taken notice of this, what are the measures being taken to ensure that our national unity and cohesion is protected by education and sensitization, as well as trying to put this in a context of not suppressing freedom of expression, as well as maintaining the national cohesion that we have because of these kinds of threats and attacks from social media on ethnic basis. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Joshua from GH1.
Good evening, Mr. President. I am Joshua Kujumensa, GH1 Television and Star FM. I'm glad to hear that you personally are telling us that indeed steps have been taken to repeal LI 2462. But then I want to find out from you, the pro-environmentalist groups and then civil society, they want this declaration of a state of emergency. Where's the difficulty in declaring that state of emergency? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Joshua. Mahama Haruna from Savannah. And then we'll take a final question from the lady from GTV.
Thank you very much, Honorable. My name is Mahama Haruna, as you rightly said, from Savannah region, Inkligi FM. Mr. President, we expected you to say a little on the security situation in the country, especially the unfortunate Boko conflict, and recently the conflict in your own backyard of Savannah region. I know how uncomfortable you are with the conflict in your backyard between Gonjas, who are the landlords, and the Brefors, who are the settlers. They've coexisted for about 100 years until recently. I know you are more worried because almost everyone in your backyard, Gonjas, Brefors, will always vote for you massively, sometimes almost 100%. Now, since 1996, when you contested your first elections, first of all, I just arrived from Bole, where you hail from. And I can say that the people are not happy with the curfew imposed on them. Especially in the beginning, people were dragged from their rooms and beaten. There's evidence to that. Now, let me go to my question.
You may want to wrap up.
No, yeah, I'll wrap up. Mr. President, you've put in place, the Minister of Interior has put in place a mediation committee. Do you think it can resolve the problem? Because some are saying there should have been a reconciliation committee. Moreover, the people are saying since the conflict erupted, they've not heard from you. So what do you have to tell your people? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So the final question will come from the lady from GTV.
Good evening, Your Excellency. Thanks for the opportunity. I'm Salamat Kukwa Pinto. I'm with the Despite Media.
Yeah, pardon me, Despite Media, yes.
Yes,
right.
yes, thank you. I wanted to hear something from the creative arts industry when you made your presentation, but I didn't hear anything. The question is that you have shown how you want to bridge the unemployment gap, but I want to find out that how do you intend, or can you tell us what plans you have in using the creative arts sector to solve the high unemployment? And also, please, I would like to hear what is happening with the Black Star experience. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So His Excellency will now answer these questions.
Thank you very much. Let me first apologize for missing one of the questions, and that is the accusation that there's interference in terms of the oral investigations. I would have very conveniently said the General Secretary himself is here, and so I'll call him to present his evidence to the public. But I can assure you that there's no way anybody can interfere. I cannot be in people's mind to stop them from attempting to interfere, but I am responsible for making sure that that interference comes to naught. And so I closely monitor. I hold regular meetings with the Attorney General. He briefs me on the status of investigations. And so I'm confident that, the cases will go ahead based on their merits, and that nobody would have the opportunity to interfere. If anybody goes lobbying people or paying people to interfere, they probably are just throwing away their resources. All cases will be investigated and come to their logical end. If people are exonerated in the courts, that's what justice is all about. We will do our part, and we're being painstaking in preparing the dockets, and that's why people are complaining that it's a bit slow. But you don't want to hurriedly take a docket to courts and have it thrown out on technicality. And that's why you need to make sure that by the time a docket is prepared and prosecution starts, you have a watertight case that will ensure that you get a conviction. And so that's the process that we're going through. There was also a question that was tied to water, but it also had to do with Galamsey. It says that the justification for water company asking for such a steep increase was because of the cost of treating the water. And I answered it in terms of the tariff, but not in terms of the Galamsey in the water. But in my statement, I indicate that we just started with the Blue River Guards. We're training more and more of them. These are long expanses of water bodies. And so so far those we've trained are 600 and something. They are not enough to cover even the length of the Ankobra. And so as we recruit and deploy, because they patrol the water bodies, if they see any Shamfam machine on the water body, they seize it and we burn it, we destroy it. And so I gave you the number of Shamfam machines we have seized and destroyed. As we continue to increase the numbers of these Blue River Guards, I'm sure that we'll be able to cover the tunnel, we'll be able to cover the Pra, we'll be able to cover the Ankobra. And we hope that then we will start seeing, you know, some reduction in the turbidity of the water. But even more than those on the water bodies, the destruction is the forest reserves. Because the rivers take their catchment areas from the water reserve. So if you destroy from the forest reserve, if you destroy the forest reserve, the river or the stream will dry up. Because where it takes its water source will no longer exist. And so that's why at the beginning of the struggle I said our focus is going to be on the water bodies and the forest reserves. And then we can stretch out to other areas. So as we train more Blue River Water Guards, we would see an improvement in the turbidity levels of the waters. Bernard said I'm in danger of becoming a supreme leader. Look in my face, do I look like a supreme leader? And that is to paraphrase Prof. Star. At Mills, do I look like a cat hunter? Do I look like a supreme leader? I'm a Democrat true and true. And even when we attained 2/3 of Parliament, I said that we're not going to use it to ride roughshod over the minority, and that we're going to give opportunity for democracy to flourish. And so we don't intend to use our 2/3 majority to steamroll our democracy. We believe that even though the people of Ghana gave us that overwhelming majority, it wasn't meant to turn Ghana into a dictatorship. They gave it to us in order that we could carry out reforms to make our governance better. And I think that we stand a very good chance with that 2/3 majority to finally move the amendments to the Constitution that we have all wanted. In the past, because of hung parliaments and all that, we couldn't make any progress, because there are some of those amendments for which you need an overwhelming majority. And so Ghanaians have given us that opportunity and say, look, go ahead and do these things so that we can have a better constitution that will take Ghana for many more generations to come. And so that's what I believe. But I certainly am not on the way to becoming a supreme leader or an autocrat. Yendi and Tamale water. Yendi, Tamale, and Damango are 3 urban areas in the northern regions that suffer severe water scarcity, especially Tamale. Tamale is probably the biggest city in the whole of the 5 northern regions. The population has been increasing rapidly, and the water system has not expanded as fast to meet the demand of a growing population. And so we have to urgently expand Tamale, Yendi, and Damango has become a regional capital. It has started growing very fast, and it faces a scarcity of water. The Tamale and Damango water systems are under an EU program, and recently when I went to Brussels, it's one of the things we discussed. There's funding available for those 2 water systems. And so because we have a cap on our credit, external credit, of $250 million a year, we have to find space within that to be able to accommodate Tamale and Damango water. But I want to assure you that they are priority projects for government, and we definitely would fund them and make sure that before we leave office, Tamale and Damango get sufficient water for those cities to thrive. With Yendi, we are placing Yendi under the Big Push program, and so we're going to fund it with our oil and gold revenues and establish an expanded water treatment system for Yendi. The budget statement is going to be read in November, and in the budget statement, details of these projects will be included in the budget. The last time the GJA came to me, I mentioned to them that as the world changes and new technologies come, we're moving from not having just the traditional media into having what we call the new media. These are all the new social media instruments like TikTok, like Facebook, like X, and all of them. And so the traditional sense of journalists like you, most of you trained and working in media houses that have a corporate identity and can be held responsible for the information that you put out, is beginning to change. We have a new crop of I'll call them neo-journalists, who anybody with a phone and a camera can report news or comments on national issues. Now the point is, who holds those people responsible? And that's what he's saying. If you go to some of the WhatsApp platforms, or you go to some of the commentaries in the TikToks and others, we have what we call hate speech, incitement to violence. Those are criminal. Despite the fact that we have removed the criminal libel laws, there are some laws that make such people accountable. Because if we don't regulate that sector, it can lead this nation to war. There are some of the incendiary statements that have been made in the Boko situation that are fueling some of what is happening there, making people hate each other and see each other as enemies. It's been the same in the Gonja Brefo thing. Some people fanning and inciting violence against each other. This falls in the ambit of the National Signals Bureau. And so the National Signals Bureau now has the technology to use your IP number and find you wherever you are. So I'm sending a signal to Ghanaians that we can find you those doing those hate speech and things. We'll use your IP number, we'll trace you. And when we trace you, we'll deal with you under the criminal code for inciting violence and disturbance of the peace. But I believe that beyond that, we must start making regulation for this new media, because it's unregulated. And so anybody just takes a phone and says, oh, this plane crash, I wish that so-so and so had been the one in the helicopter and had died, and dwarfs have eaten him in the forest. I mean, why would you say something like that? And so we need regulation for that new emerging media. But in the meantime, the National Signals Bureau has been given the full authority to track down people who do that kind of thing and bring them to be sanctioned under the criminal code. I've been reluctant to implement a state of emergency in the Galamsey fight because we've not exhausted the powers we even have without a state of emergency. We have the opportunity to arrest anybody, to confiscate any such thing. There are laws for forest protection and all that give us enough powers to be able to act. Implementing a state of emergency might sound nice, but it should be the last extreme, the last resort. So for now, let's exercise all the powers we have. And if it becomes necessary for a state of emergency, then we'll look at it. It means we have to go to Parliament. The President can't just declare a state of emergency without, going to Parliament, because there's a limit to how long you can maintain that state of emergency. And so I believe that we still have leverage to continue to fight Galamsey without necessarily implementing a state of emergency. It means that we have to delineate the areas where the state of emergency is operational. And if you look at the area where Galamsey is taking place, it covers several districts of our country. And so we would do it if it becomes necessary. But for now, I think that we've given the security services enough powers to be able to deal with people who are found to be involved in Galamsey. With regards to the security in the Sola, Tuna, Kalba, and Bole districts, it was an incident over a small plot of land, like the land you put a container kiosk on. That's all. And it has led to over 30 deaths. Somebody has his house, and there's a land between the house and the street. And he wants to build shops on that land. And then there's a dispute with the chief. And then it leads to gunfire and then deaths. It's most unfortunate, like the questioner said. These are two groups that have lived in peace for so many years and are intermarried. There are people from one side who are married to their others, people from one side that are married to others. I, for instance, am such a mixture of people, I don't know who I am. Part of me is Vagla, part is Safalba, part is Gonja. I mean, quarter of everything. And so if my ethnic groups are fighting, it means my body should be fighting with different parts of my body because I'm a mixture. My blood is made up of all those ethnic groups. And so it's most unfortunate. And so we've put in a mediation team. We mentioned the members. The 2 MPs are supposed to be ex-official members to work with the mediation team. If you look at the terms of reference in the mediation team, there's also reconciliation. And so even though we call it a mediation team, its terms of reference includes reconciliation. So we're giving them the full authority to meet both sides, to perform purification rites, to cleanse the land of any blood that has been spilled and all that, and then to come out with recommendations how to improve relations between the 2 groups so that they live in peace. There are few feudal practices that have been complained about, you know, where people are called to chiefs' palaces and shipped, or they are forced to give up their animals and things. We need to look at all those practices too as we go forward. We're in a modern society, and so sometimes some of these things we must take another look at them. I've been accepted by all sides. Indeed, sometimes my greatest supporters were people of other ethnic extractions other than my own Gonja extraction. I won elections not because I was a Gonja, but because of the person that I was, you know, and I enjoyed a good relations with everybody. And so even though I haven't visited yet, I have not gone there yet because I want peace to have a chance, but I've been pulling the strings. I sent a delegation to the Yegbonra to prevent him from leaving Damangu and going to Biniri, which would have escalated the conflict. And he listened to me as a father, and he refused to go. I stopped the Bolera too from going there. We gave the chiefs an escort to go and see the place where the incident happened. And I think that that has lessened tensions. As I speak, we've given the security services the authority and the resources to begin to bring some of the displaced people back to their communities. And so we're going to work hard to make sure that we bring peace to Gonjaland. We need peace to develop. Our common enemy is poverty, it's not each other. Savannah is one of the poorest regions in the country, and so we must rather be fighting poverty rather than fighting each other. And the last one, the creative arts. The creative arts is one of the important sectors. What we notice is that the creative industry creates jobs faster than the traditional sectors that we have known. By the time sector or manufacturing creates 1 job, the creative sector, digitalization, knowledge industry, arts and things would have created about 5 jobs. And so that's an area in which we have to continue to invest. And that is why we created them as a ministry together with tourism. The Black Star experience will take off. They've been working on all the foundational issues, and you'll soon see a sign of it. In the next budget, we're going to make some allocation for the creative arts, for the film fund, and to support Kumawood and all the filmmakers, to support the music industry, to support the arts and all that. We need to put our money where our mouths are. And I think that the creative arts are a good representation of our culture and who we are as a people. Thank you.
Excellency, unfortunately, due to constraints of time, we would take a final round. So I will start with the gentleman from TV5 Le Monde, and then let me be inward looking and call GTV, who I superintend I see Kojo Youngson at the back. Let me come this way and call the gentleman from BBC. And then I'll give the final slot to a lady. The lady at the back. That would be it. Oh, they are both in black, incidentally. Well, one has more white than the other, so I'll call her. All right, so Lemon, you have the floor.
Good evening, and thank you for having me tonight. My name is Victor Cariou. I'm the Ghana correspondent for Radio France International, TV5, and Le Monde Afrique. These questions concern the diplomatic relationship between the United States of America and Ghana and Africa, and the deportation of migrants from the US to third countries in Africa. Your Excellency, with regard to this matter, how do you perceive the recent deal between the US and Rwanda, Eswatini or South Sudan? And also, has Ghana already received migrants from a third country deported from the US? Or if not, is Ghana considering doing so in the near future? Thank you.
Thank you very much. GTV has the floor now.
Thank you. Good evening, Your Excellency. You announced that the government will remove the minimum capital requirement for foreign investors under a revised Ghana Investment Promotion Sector Act during your visit to Japan. Your Excellency, is the government not removing the protection that shields Ghanaian enterprises by removing the minimum capital requirement? And also the concerns about the Ghanaian traders with the activities of the Nigerian trade partners in the country. There's a request for that part of the GIPC Act to be amended to make it possible for Nigerian and indeed other African traders to move more freely within the space because of ASCFTA. What are your views? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Kojo Youngson has the floor now.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. President. My name is Kojo Youngson. I'm the host of the Super Morning Show on Joy. Mr. President, you've already talked about how important it is to safeguard the water bodies and the forest reserves. But over the past 9 months since you became president, the turbidity levels in the water bodies have worsened, according to the Water Resources Commission. Ghana Water Company supports this by saying that they've had to shut down several treatment plants because the water sources are too polluted for them to process. Besides that, we know that there have been increased incursions into forest reserves for Galamsey. We've also heard from your transport minister that we are importing more excavators than ever before, over 200 a day. My question about this is about its effect on the economy. Recently, the finance minister has been touting the work of the Gold Board led by Sami Jemfi for being an anchor to the economy, especially when it comes to stabilizing the city. My question is, does your government know, is your government able to tell the difference between gold from Galamsey and gold from regular concessions when the Gold Board is buying gold from local producers? And could it be, because so much of it comes from Galamsey, could that be the reason why we are seeing some reluctance recently in the fight against Galamsey, in the sense that the IGP's efforts have been stopped and he's brought back his men from the forests? Could this be because?
Thank you very much. I think your point is made. So I'll turn to the BBC now.
I'm Thomas Nadi from the BBC World Service. Mr. President, during our interview last year ahead of the elections, you mentioned you were going to establish special courts to fast-track the trial of corruption cases. Could you update us on how far you've gone with that? And also, some of the oral cases border on national security, particularly the Edu Boahene one. Do you intend to take them out of court? Thank you.
Thank you very much. The lady in a lot of white and black.
Good evening, Mr. President. My name is Benis Abubeidulansa. I'm a broadcast journalist with GH1 Television. In your speech, you mentioned that you are committed to resetting institutions. But there are many Ghanaians watching us tonight who are either on the verge of homelessness or struggling to get money to rent, not because they don't have money, but because we are not sticking to our rent laws. I just want to ask when your reset agenda will reach the housing sector, particularly for the State Housing Company Limited in putting up real affordable homes for many Ghanaians, and the Rent Control Department in protecting vulnerable Ghanaians.
Thank you very much. His Excellency has granted a special dispensation for the lady in less white and more black to ask a question. After her, we will grant yet another dispensation to our friend from the Upper East region who has come all the way. And then Randia Haji of Wezo TV will bring the question session to a close. Please go ahead.
The question is today if you ask your man to one family anke behame pa. Midi Ede Monica is Anoba home-based television. Bepacho wa bole bamboy tuna kalba ya kwano enye ese ya che ye bre yetimi di 16 hours don shi dunsia na ye ndru fie ye bisa se mampenyi de na wo ye de amayen ye mu bia ye ntimi mfasore foma na ebefe ye ne den so bin so ene bamboy enko a yetimi di don shirim yenu ewo ho na ye mfiri mu enam so makwemu kan for me share am robbers omunso afasa akwenya no so haye pa na musuo bo na okokase okofa state transport which is STC then you due because omono they drive with care and caution on kan ho kra and then na wunyandri obede nyane ada sori sa na ona sinina tatai wadaroma odi anka kwan ho nsem de nka oya ade pa na ye de na ye de wayi ye free musa da ben ene ye hwe wenim se obafia boy.
So our friend from the Upper East region would have Upper West region. Is it Upper East? Upper East region, yes. But you have only one question, please.
Thank you very much.
Only one of you is allowed to ask a question. So
thank
since
you
you
very
are
much
from the
for
same region, yeah. Please go ahead. Yeah. Go ahead.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. My name is David Adapuna from Mike FM in Avrongo, Upper East region. Your Excellency, one of the things that beats the hearts of my people has to do with the Poligo multipurpose dam. This was an initiative that was started by the NPP government, but unfortunately, we could not see its completion. This project held so much prospects, including that of irrigation, power generation, and flood control. Just recently, the Barry Dam was opened and we saw the devastation it caused. We are asking, now that the project is not happening, what plans will your government, your Excellency, have for my people so that our concerns are addressed? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, so please go ahead.
Okay.
Grant him the...
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. I'm called Joshua Sir with A1 Radio and Bolga FM in the Upper East region. Mr. President, in our region, that is the Upper East region, currently we do not have a standard sports stadium. And as a result, sports and youth development are greatly hampered. The only existing structure, which was built in the 70s to serve as a sports stadium, is no longer fit for purpose. What are the plans of the government to ensure the Upper East region has a modern sports stadium? Recently, we saw a young man who walked from Bolga to the nation's capital to solicit for a sports stadium. I don't know if the president is aware of this. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So, Randy has the last word.
Thank you, Mr. President. Please, Mr. President, I want to find out the latest updates on the Ghana's version of Ashigame. proposed to be established at Aplawa. And also, per my last checks from the whole airport, there were plans to establish an aviation school. How far with that one too? Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. His Excellency will answer these questions. Okay. Okay. Senior A.R. Gomda, the President Senior and Secondary School, has the final word by presidential fiat. Please give him the microphone.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much. Excellency, your recent directive that 2 persons be investigated for their activities regarding Galamsey went down well with a lot of people, but so far we haven't had any outcome from it. Can you please tell us what is happening or what is going to happen? Thank you very much indeed. Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Senior, we used to call him Major in Ghana Secondary School. When I came to Form 1, they were in Form 3, Yeah, and he was, as a very little boy, and he was one of my protectors. He used to protect me from bullying, and that's why I gave him the last. The first question was from, what's your institution? Oh, Radio France. Yeah, okay, it's about Ghana-US relations. First, we were slapped with 10% tariff that was increased to 15%, and then we're included in 36 countries that were going to be placed on a visa ban. But in the meantime, all 5-year visas were cancelled, and we were restricted to single entry 3 months. It shows the tightening situation in our foreign relations, but I do think that we still enjoy good relations with the United States of America. We were approached by the US to accept third-party nationals who were being removed from the US. And we agreed with them that West African nationals, were acceptable, because all our fellow West Africans don't need a visa to come to our country. So if they decided to travel from US to Accra, they don't need a visa anyway. So if you're bringing our colleague West Africans back, I mean, that's okay. And so I think that agreement has been activated, and a first batch of 14 nationals came. Several of them were our Nigerian brothers. They opted to go back home, and so we facilitated, we put them on buses, to be able to go back home. One of them was a Gambian who it's not as easy. You have to get him an air ticket to be able to facilitate his travel. So what we've done is contacted their embassy to let them know of his presence so that they can facilitate his return to Gambia. And so that's the issue with regards to deportations and arrivals. West Africa has the protocol of free movement. And so any West African is free to come to Ghana and be able to stay for 90 days. And so if they decide to bring them, I mean, we don't have a problem accepting them. Then with regards to the GIPC Act, we are living in a new environment. We have the ECOWAS Trade Liberalization Scheme. We have the African Continental Free Trade Area that wants us to open our markets to each other. And so the former protective regime is changing. And so we need to review the GIPC Act to be able to take cognizance of that. And aside from that, there's limited foreign direct investment in the whole world. And so you need to place yourself in a position where you're able to attract as much foreign investment as possible. So when you put a barrier of $1 million, there are people who with $500,000 can open a manufacturing establishment. But because you say he must show $1 million of transferred capital into the country, then you shut out that investor. And that's why, as part of the GIPC review, we're removing the minimum requirement so that anybody who wants to come and set up a business in Ghana to provide employment for our people is welcome to come. But that is different from the issue of the markets. And so there's advocacy that we should review that issue with markets. The current law restricts retail sector to only Ghanaians. And there are people who argue that it's anti-competition and so many other things. But of course, in most countries, you want to reserve a certain portion of the economy for your people. And so Parliament is going to look at it, and eventually whatever law they pass is what we have to live with. I never expected, or I never deluded myself, that the fight against illegal gold mining or galamsey was going to be an event. I mean, definitely, there's no magic wand. The decay has eaten so much over the last 8 years that it's going to take a lot of work to be able to overcome it. And I didn't expect that in 18 months we would declare victory in the fight. As the livelihoods of about 4 million Ghanaians is on small-scale mining. And so it's going to be a process. It's not going to be an event. But we will not give up. We have a determination to get on top of it. The Gold Board was introduced as part of reforms. And if the Gold Board was not introduced, I mean, those who were taking the profits from the small-scale mining sector were the foreign traders who were taking that money away. In 6 months, we have exported over $6 billion. About $4 billion of that money was going to go into the private or foreign traders. And so the first thing is you shut the stable door so that the horse doesn't escape, which is what we've done. So if it's from illegal sources, it's from legal sources. At least it's our land that is being destroyed. So let us get the benefit of it instead of foreign traders. So that's the first thing. But if you go and read the Gold Board law, it has a requirement for tracking and tracing. And as I speak, the Gold Board is working with an organization to put on a track and trace system. And so they're going to see those who have legitimate license requirements so that they can assist them in responsible mining, so that we can buy that gold off them. Once we do tracking and tracing, it's in our interest, because then we can export under LBMA, and we'll get more profit from exporting under LBMA. So the Gold Board is not just about buying gold, it's also about financing responsible small-scale mining. And mind you, small-scale mining is not illegal in this country. It's provided for in our laws. It's just that in many cases, we've not even trained the miners about what responsible mining is. You just see anybody who gets an excavator just goes anywhere and starts digging and washing. But small-scale mining takes place in Australia. It takes place in Canada. And so as I speak, we are organizing a trip for the Small Scale Miners Association to Australia. Australia has given us an invitation to bring them to come and see how small-scale mining is done without destroying the environment. And so that's something we're going to take an advantage of. And the Gold Board is leading, and the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources are leading that charge. Only recently, our Minister for Lands and Natural Resources came back from Australia. And so we need to train these small-scale miners. The gold is a blessing that God gave us. It's a natural resource that God gave us to make life better for our people. It's just that the way and manner in which we are going about it is causing destruction to the environment. But it is the result of an increase in the gold price. And if you've read widely, you find that the same thing is happening in Peru. It's happening in several other countries because of the heightened gold price. And so for whatever little gold you're able to find, you get more money. Galamsey was not a problem when gold was $2,000 per ounce. But today, gold is pushing $3,600 per ounce. And because of the lack of jobs, jobless growth for several decades, there are a lot of young people who are coming out of school who have no job work to do. And so for them, that is the only livelihood. And so we must not think just about chasing them all over the place without providing alternatives for them. Because the alternative is that they should stay home and starve or go out and do something deviant. And that's why we came up with the cooperative mining concept, for which we recently lost our colleagues. They were going to launch it, the first of its kind in Anglo, because one of the things we said was that we're going to let the big mining companies seed off some of their concessions. Some of them have 400, 500 miles square. And there's gold in some parts of those concessions that they will never mine because the grams per ton of ore is so low. But yet, if you put a small-scale miner there, he can mine it effectively. And so we've discussed with them, and they've all agreed. And so Anglo Ashanti was the first. They've cut a part of the concession, and that is what Omani and Murtala and Co. are going to launch, cooperative mining, so that we'll move the small-scale miners from the forest reserves where they are causing destruction and settle them on the concessions where the big mining companies have seeded. As I speak, Newmont has demarcated an area for these small-scale miners. And we have asked the big companies to mentor them and supervise them and make sure they do the right thing. So that was going to be an alternative for moving them out of the forest and other places so that they can mine under the supervision of those companies. And that's where our colleagues were going when the helicopter crashed. And so it's a program that we're going to continue so that we can give them an alternative, not just go chase them around without finding something else for them to do. And so that's something we're working on. With regards to excavators, we're enforcing the law that you must get the permits before the excavator is put on a ship. That is what the law has been, but it was not followed. And so they let the excavator land before they come and ask the Ministry of Transport for a permit. And so we've informed all the dealers that you cannot load an excavator onto a ship until you have gotten a permit. In the meantime, a lot of excavators have arrived at the port. And recently, somebody said they were being released at midnight to their owners and things. That's not true. What happens was there were so many that they had occupied a huge area of the port and congested the port. And so we found the land near Shai Hills, near the military installation. And the Field Engineers Regiment and others have been given charge to move the excavators from the port to that area so that they can free up space in the port. And they do that in the night because of traffic in the daytime. So in the night, they have the payloaders moving the excavators out of the port to the designated areas where they are supposed to be held. And before any of those excavators is released, they must be tracked, they must have a tracker on them, they must be registered by the owner of the excavator, and we must know the purpose for which the excavator has been imported. Because the construction industry also imports excavators, and so you cannot put a blanket ban on importation of excavators just because you think that every excavator is going to go into the illegal mining industry. Even the big mining companies that have licenses import excavators. And so we want to know who is importing the excavators, who it is going to. We want to be able to put a tracker on it and be able to trace that excavator wherever it is in the country. We called off the IGP's anti-galamsey task force because they are supposed to coordinate with NIMOS, that is the National Anti-Illegal Mining Operations Secretariat. Unfortunately, they were not doing that. So every little commander in any this thing gets up, galamsey phobia, they can't tell who is licensed, they can't tell who is not licensed. And so it was just like an attack on the whole small-scale mining industry. And so what we said was they should freeze their action, they should synchronize it with the National Anti-Galamsey Operational Secretariat so that they can be directed exactly to where to go in terms of the anti-Galamsey fight. While we're fighting Galamsey, it doesn't mean that it's a free-for-all for everybody to get up. Anybody gets up, puts on a helmet, puts on a jacket, and says, I'm anti-Galamsey. They say, we're not looking for chaos. We're looking to do it, you know, in a scientific manner so that we do not hurt the whole of the small-scale mining industry. We talked about special courts for anti-corruption. I actually said we'll speak with the Chief Justice and see if they can create special courts for prosecuting people who are flagged in the Auditor General's report. And so that is something the Attorney General is pursuing, because every year we see Auditor General's report, it goes before the Public Accounts Commission, they say this person diverted this person misappropriated this and that, and yet no action is taken. And so Ghanaians have been saying, so what's the use of the Auditor General's report? And so we're asking the Chief Justice, can you create special courts which can fast-track action on the Auditor General's report? So people who are determined to be criminally liable after the Public Accounts Committee has sat can be put before those courts so that they are sanctioned to create a deterrent so that other people do not do the same thing that they have done. Very good question on rent and homelessness, and I'm happy to give you the microphone to ask it. The biggest expenditure in any Ghanaian's budget is rent. And even though we have laws, enforcing them has been difficult. The rent law says that a landlord cannot charge more than 6 months. But the problem in enforcing the law is the connivance of the tenant and the landlord. The tenant won't come and report that they are charging him 1 year's rent advance because he wants the room. And so that has been the problem. And the problem is because our population is growing beyond our housing capacity. So the competition for accommodation and housing is very strong. And that is why we must expand our housing coverage. And I remember in our manifesto, we have a pledge to expand housing. And in the next budget, we're going to make provision for that. I've already had a discussion with some of the associations, the organized labor associations. Some of them have funds that are sitting in their accounts. And they have members who want houses. So what I've said is government will match their funds. And so if they give 1 billion cedis, we will give 1 billion cedis. And then one of the banks, Republic Bank, has said that they are willing to also match with 1 billion cedis. So if we get a 3 billion cedi fund, we can start building houses in all the districts. And as people pay their down payments, it will go back into the fund and it will become a revolving fund. And governments can give it to people. I said if you have like about 15 to 20 years before retirement, you can take a house and we'll be deducting from your salary monthly so that by the time your retirement time is up, you have your own accommodation to go to. And as we take those deductions, they will go back into the fund. So it becomes like a revolving fund so that we can increase the housing stock. But the Minister of Finance will talk about that when he reads the budget in November. Minyaba, se ufi yekrom honomo. Techiman wenchi Bamboy Bole Wa Road, a major international corridor. Na nearby, adia ba say a quine say and say a bedroom rebia trucks ni bebre omoko Mali any Burkina Faso a ye Bobo de la so a hono a ho akoye kwan a won faso ma omo enti omo mfa techiman omo mfa kentampo kwan ni biom e ko pagansa na omo akomani because omo fa wenchi kwan na omo ko pie bole no mo pie wa no mo ko pie hamile wodru hamile a Bobo de la so e wo enchen ho a o pai efa wonsa benkum so a e de wo ko Bamako enti ama enhyen akese ne bebre enam sa kwan no so ekwan no so ya nye ne se ebetimi afa sa wait, how do you call wait? And ya nye ekwan no se ne befa sa enyoma na omofa no emu odu enti amakwan na sai kra enti yese obia hokuru nsuo eba na na emu meboa ho na misu mi free enti ye big push no ma shada de akoshe big push no mo enti nyame adom enche kra obehu se contractor egu so den na afi akachom se omo ye kwan na omo nye no senia trucks e fa so no emma ne nsai biom because afi ehu se eho e no omo pefa enti ye kwan no ne nye ne yie se na be ya omo fa so mpo a ekwan no beche amaye na omo ye no so se bole ye mikrom enti me se contractor na ye no bole town roads on kai na onsiesi ho emma me enti eyade a enche bia obehu se baso Palugu multipurpose dam, we are rescoping the project, and so currently the contract was awarded to Sino Hydro, but it was supposed to be funded from Government of Ghana sources. Government of Ghana didn't have the money, and so the contract was not executed. And so we are rescoping it. It means we have to do an appraisal of what the costing will be again. And what we intend is to, if possible, finance it under the big push. The last time it was to cost about $900 and something million, almost $1 billion. And $1 billion today is about 11 point something, almost 12. So that would be about 12 billion CDs. This year, the total budget for big push was 14 billion. Next year, the total budget is 30 billion. And so we'll see how we can accommodate it in phases, because it has two phases, phase 1 and phase 2. Maybe we're not able to do the 2 phases immediately, but we can start with phase 1, which is the electricity production, and then phase 2 is the flood control and irrigation. And so we're rescoping it, and you'll soon hear something about it. With regards to stadia, we promise to build stadia in all the new regions and the regions that don't have modern stadia. So as I speak, the Ministry of Sports and Recreation is doing the design and the costing for the new stadia. And Upper East is one of the regions that has been captured to receive a new sports stadium. That also is under the big push. What we're doing is Takwa Goldfields built a stadium, a standard stadium for their football activities. And I was surprised to learn it cost about $13 million. When government of Ghana has built stadia, it costs hundreds of millions of dollars. But for those of you who have gone to Takwa and see their stadium, it's a standard stadium. And I think it takes about 5,000 or more, or is it 10,000 people? And so if they could build it for 13 million, government too should be able to do same. So we've asked them to find out the architects, the designers, and everybody who did that stadium so that we can replicate it in our other regions that don't have stadia. And then finally, Ashigami, we've got the money. China is giving us money for the Aflao market. The land has been acquired, and designs are being worked on, and soon a contractor will be appointed to build the markets. And so that promise is on track. Aviation school at Ho Airport, Togbe Afede is leading the charge. The current status is that the land has been allocated, and currently surveyors are on the land marking out the demarcation for the aviation school. We're also trying to attract an MRO. MRO is Maintenance Repair Organization. And so we want to use Ho Airport as the center for maintaining aircrafts. There are a lot of aircrafts in Nigeria and other places that if we have a good MRO in Ho, we'll just fly the short distance and come and service their aircrafts there. And so we're working on that. The last question was about the referral of 2 of our executives to Yoko to investigate allegations of involvement in illegal mining. That investigation is active. Some allegations were made, and IOCO is investigating whether there was any substance to the allegation. As and when they conclude that investigation, they'll give us a report, and we'll determine what should be done. So that's it. I think I've answered all the questions so far. I thank you very much for your attendance, and this is the first in several such encounters. I'll make myself available as regularly as possible to answer any questions that you might pose on behalf of the general public. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. I was actually billed to give a vote of thanks, but it would appear that you have done it at presidential level. So I'll proceed to thank all of you and indicate that we'll draw the curtains down on this program at this juncture. But before we do that, we'll all stand for the national anthem, after which His Excellency will depart. Shall we remain standing as His Excellency the President departs the hall?
It is a great joy for me to stand here before you in the heart of the Western region, a land of immense promise, rich history, and extraordinary potential. I'm here with a deep sense of humility and gratitude to say a sincere thank you for the overwhelming support you showed me during the last election. Your trust and belief in our vision for resetting and renewing our country, Ghana, is what has brought us this far, and I do not take it for granted at all. We will have the opportunity as a nation soon to pray and give thanks to the Almighty God, as enjoined by the Holy Book that says that in all things give thanks. We will thank God for His beautiful blessings on our nation, Ghana. And I'll soon announce a planning committee made up of religious leaders to plan the National Day of Prayer and Thanksgiving. I propose that this National Day of Prayer and Thanksgiving should be held on 1st July, which is also our Republic Day and also marks Senior Citizens Day. Nananum, my brothers and sisters, we will soon present to Parliament amendments to the Public Holidays Act in order that we can restore July 1st as a holiday. During the 2024 election, I came here to seek your blessing and your mandate, and you responded overwhelmingly by entrusting me with the leadership of this country And today I came here simply to say 2 words. Thank you to all the hundreds of thousands of people who voted for me here in the Western region. I'm here to reaffirm my commitment to honoring the trust and confidence you have reposed in me. We'll deliver on our promises, and I'm hopeful that you will see tangible, life-changing developments across the region soon. Long live the Western region, long live our homeland Ghana, and may God make it great and strong. I've made this journey here today with a heart full of gratitude and immense pride. Gratitude to you for your unwavering support and pride in your steadfast commitment. You, the people of the Upper East region, have shown to the National Democratic Congress since the founding of the Fourth Republic that you are an unshakable rock of Gibraltar behind the party. My appreciation has been further deepened by the fact that in the 2024 election, the Upper East region did not only reaffirm its unwavering support for the NDC, but you also honored me with a pride of place as a candidate to receive the greatest endorsement in the recent memory ever given to any presidential candidate in the Fourth Republic. And I recognize that the emphatic mandate you have given me reflects your heightened expectations of me and my government. It is an affirmation of your trust in the principles of fairness and probity and accountability that form the bedrock of NDC's ideological underpinnings. More importantly, it is an expression of your confidence in our vision to reset Ghana and transform the fortunes of our dear Upper East region. I embrace your trust with a deep sense of humility and an unshakable commitment to work tirelessly to justify the faith that you have placed in me and the National Democratic Congress. On behalf of the government and the great NDC, I say thank you very much in English. Umpusie Barka in Kusal, Umpusie Zue Zue in Frafra, Umpusa Bakrika in Moshi, Manyejam in Bully. I think it's enough, I'll stop there. Anope me ba Asante Memu se ye be ye dwumadie bi e wo Nkawie ye Tree for Life initiative na me be see ye no e na regional minister e ka atorenchen bi a esi e wo Edum ha nti se se na ewie sa dwumadie no e na me se mentu anamo embehwe na esi na ampanso and if it's a share and your ma say and encofo stores are ashe na eyadia eyo how ye enti nedika meda fire service for ase and modern boy amu ye ya onwo etimi abre ejano anu ase na ye wie anu a na ya hwe nya ema ni si enso ade baako a fire for aka kyerɛ me ne sɛ ɔmbɛduru yɛ no sɛ na ɔmbɛtumi awura mu etimi akodum gya no ɛno yɛ ade baako a ɛha ɔmo yie na ɔhwɛ a yɛdwam bebree saa na ɛteɛ nti ɛgya to mu a sɛ na fire for betimi aduru hɔ etimi edum gya ne ntɛm no na abɛyɛ ɔhaw ama ɔmo nti ɔsi yɛde wɔ esua nyansa na yɛhwɛ yɛdwa no da yɛ planning ne yie sɛ na ɛbɛyɛ a bibi kosi a na etimi aso ano ntɛm nti yɛne minister ne edwadifo no ɛbɛka yɛka kyerɛ nadmo sɛ ɔmbɛhwɛ na ɔmompɛ ɛmmoa bi ɛmfa mmɔ ɔmo kakra yɛne chief of staff nso bɛkasa nti nea Asante regional minister ɛne ɔmbɛka no na yɛahwɛ ɛmmoa a ebetumi deɛ aboa ɔmo sɛ na ɛbɛyɛ a ɔmo so ɔmbɛnya ɛyi comfort kakra yɛgyina ha yi wotumi te sɛ explosion bi rekɔ so wɔ hɔ ne nyinaa yɛ gas cylinder sɛ wate baako ne nyinaa yɛ gas cylinder sɛ explode edwom eni sɛ yɛyusu gas cylinder ɛwɔ dwom eni sɛ enua aduane wɔ dwom wopɛ sɛ odidi a ɛwɔ sɛ wokɔ abɔnten kɔtɔ aduane bra na onua wɔ fie na wode aduane no bra ɛba dwom ɛnso gas cooker ne saa nneɛma no nyinaa ɛka ho ɛna saa nneɛma esi ɛnso nea ɛwɔ hɔ ne sɛ mɛma ɔmo a saa atɔrɛnkyɛmi aka ɔmo no mɛma ɔmo kosɛ na aban nso bɛhwɛ sɛ nea ɛbɛyɛ a yɛbɛtumi asɔ ɔmo mu kakra. This is the Electronic Transfer Levy Repeal Bill. That's the famous e-levy bill. I'll proceed to sign it. I've just given assent to the repeal of the famous e-levy bill. Now this is the Income Tax Amendment Bill 2025 to remove withholding tax on winnings from lottery, betting, and games of chance. This is the famous betting tax repeal bill. So betting tax is gone. This is the emissions tax repeal bill. So emissions levy is gone. This is the earmark funds capping and realignment bill. This is the bill that caps the GET Fund and National Health Insurance Levy and moves those resources into the consolidated fund. We promise that we'll take the capping off, we won't cap them. So the earmark funds capping and realignment amendment bill has been assented to. This is the Public Financial Management Amendment Bill 2025. This bill is a very important bill because it will stop some of the recklessness that was exhibited under the past government. It sets a target of GDP to debt ratio of 45% by the year 2034, and that will be the ceiling, 45%. No finance minister can come and borrow us to 104% like we've seen. Public Procurement Amendment Bill 2025. Now, this is a very important amendment. Agreements and contracts are not to be signed if they've not been given a commencement certificate by the Ministry of Finance. This affected only ministries. Now it has been amended to include the Public Procurement Authority. Now, this is the Value Added Tax Amendment Bill. This bill seeks to remove VAT on insurance. And so we promise the drivers that we'll take off VAT from insurance, because when they pay insurance, they have to pay VAT on it. And they add it to their cost and use it to increase lorry fares. So VAT on insurance is repealed. And this one is the Petroleum Revenue Management Amendment Bill. This bill is important because it allows us to fulfill the Big Push program for infrastructure. The petroleum annual budget funding amount of the petroleum revenue is meant for infrastructure, but in the past it has been used for all kinds of things. This consolidates it all under the big push for transformative infrastructural programs all over the country. So this will build our highways, this will build our roads, this will build our bridges and other important infrastructure, provide farmer service centers to give agricultural services to farmers and other such important projects. Okay, this is the Gold Board Act. This sets up the Gold Board that will streamline Ghana's gold sector, including our exports, to make sure that Ghana earns more value for money from our gold mining exports. This is the Growth and Sustainability Levy Amendment Act. It increases the growth and sustainability levy from 1% to 2%. It ensures that Ghana makes more money from its mineral exports. This is the Energy Sector Levies Act. This act consolidates several levies in the energy sector, including the price stabilization levy, the sanitation and pollution levy, and several other such levies into one. And it will go to pay off our energy sector debt, which, as you know, stands at about 2.2 billion. This will yield about 10 billion cedis every year. Promises delivered. Today we stand at a critical juncture in our nation's history, a moment that demands renewed energy focus and commitment to securing our future through food self-sufficiency and agricultural transformation. The Feed Ghana program is our flagship initiative. It is a strategic umbrella under which all agricultural projects and interventions will be executed. It is anchored on deliberate actions to increase food production, promote modern farm practices, strengthen infrastructure, and develop agro-industrial zones across the length and breadth of Ghana. The Feed Ghana program is therefore timely. It represents a bold commitment to put our resources where our ambitions lie. To reduce imports from neighboring countries, we'll invest in controlled environmental farming, including the use of greenhouse technologies and urban and peri-urban agriculture. We'll establish farmer service centers nationwide to provide mechanization services, quality inputs, finance, market access, primary processing, and training for our farmers. We'll develop agro-processing zones with irrigation, roads, power, and warehousing to attract private investments to boost production and processing of our agricultural produce. The Exim Bank will be repositioned to offer concessional loans to agricultural enterprises, especially those involved in the export and value addition process. The Feed Ghana program is not just a policy, it is a call to action. The task ahead is monumental, but it is achievable. With unity of purpose and shared commitment, we can transform agriculture into an engine of national growth and shared prosperity. Let all farmers, agribusiness people, financial institutions, development partners, and citizens put their shoulders to the wheel so that we can make this vision a reality.
You are welcome, Your Excellency. From Opankor, we have a 2-lane dual carriageway with 2-lane service ways on both sides of the road, that making 8 lanes. And then we jump over, to the Pokwase interchange area around Pokwase, where we have 3-lane dual carriageway and then 2-lane service roads, making 10 lanes. Now we have a number of, we have one interchange here at Amasama, and that is where we are presently. It is a 3-tier interchange. By way of construction, we finished, with about 4 kilometers, of the first session where we've done asphalt, and then beyond we've done, that is at Masama, beyond Masama, we've gone all the way to around kilometer 10. We had some challenges, in the past, but then with your support and that of the Honorable Minister, the contractor has received some funding, and for the past 2 weeks, we've been working tirelessly. The areas where we had those challenges, where we saw in the social media, we are currently almost at the level of asphalt. Per the extension of time that we've given to the contractor to next year, around the second quarter, we should be done.
Your Excellency, at the time you took office, the contractor raised a certificate of almost $78 million before NPP left power, and they did not pay him. So it was surprising that just after you took office, people were expecting that what they could not do all over that period, you will do it. But guess what, Mr. President, you did it. As of today, Mr. President, every certificate owed the contractor on this project has been paid.
There's a major arterial road in the country because it connects the 2 biggest cities in Ghana. And so any challenges with this contract affect a huge number of commuters because of the heavy traffic that passes through here. And so we were quite concerned about the complaints that were coming from the traveling public. And so we are happy to see that the traffic is flowing. I can understand what happened. A loan was taken for this project, and I don't understand why the money is finished and the project is not over, and that we're having to come and pay supplementary almost 78 million from government of Ghana funds. So that's something that we need to find out. What really happened? How come the loan that was taken was not enough? Was it that the estimate for the project was not done properly, or what happened? But I can see that drivers are happy now, and I hope that from now till when you finish the project, you maintain a smooth flow of traffic even as you're working, so that you don't impede the flow of traffic. So we'll hold you to your word.